it's not entirely 3D printed. The boom that I made mine with is a US specification 1-inch conduit. It's aluminium tubing, available here in the UK. I don't know about the rest of Europe, but I have done a Tinkercad file for 25mm conduit. On the end of mine I've got a large cast aluminium tee. As it turns out, really it's not that useful other than for a counterbalance, because there's a bit of weight there, but you really don't need it.
Get on with it!
Alright. These are the Tinkercad files that I created. As I say, I've gone on to redo my original one for 25mm. So there are 2 files available, which will be in the description below. All the bits necessary, all refined and lovely finished. All you've got to do is print them off. You can create the boom yourself, and I've done a fair bit of filming with it since I've finished videoing all of this, and it's been a couple of months now, and it's proven to be quite useful. I've got a reach of about 4 feet, I think it is, 5 feet, and upwards of the same, maybe more, because you don't need as much counterbalance the higher up you go. And I use it for machine work and bits and pieces, but you could use it for so much more. The camera head is fixed, and I might even do another one later on where the camera head swivels so you can pan with it. All the bits pretty much use a 1/4-20 UNC thread. The reason I went for that, because that is the standard fixing for a camera. This little bit here I'm pointing to, you've got to be aware of when you print. I'll run through settings later on in the at the end of the video, but this is an important bit. I'm using a blocker here to stop support being used, because the bolt hole has a habit of getting support in it, and it is a right nightmare to get out. But you still need support underneath the foot where the little thumb wheel goes. So it's important to put, well, it's up to you really, put a blocker on support in that area, because it will just make your life difficult, and it's not required. It prints fine without it, or it did on mine. You can see the red area underneath was definitely needed supporting, just that bit there. But as I say, as for the other bit, doesn't need support, it's just a pain in the butt. This is the support button just here. The clamping holes, I've used studs, and then I've pressed nuts into the little thumb wheels. It works far easier and makes a far smoother feel than moving a stud in and out of the plastic, which is quite grippy. So that's the way I recommend you do it. Now on the end fixing, the original one was not quite that well designed, as I think I'll say later on in the video, but I've designed it so you've got a larger footprint on the new one. And of course, if you need to change camera direction, as I'm waving my hand profusely about, you can now twist the tube, and this large platform to make sure your camera is nice and steady. Angles are pretty good, up and down, and the skewering bracket works pretty well. And below, all the cast-offs. So if you're going to create this, this is more or less all the work that I've done for you. I've said this before, I will say, if you're going to design the clamps, compress them and make two little short ones, because the first ones I did a bit too tight on the tube, so making two lightweight ones with really virtually no infill at all is the simplest way of making sure that everything fits properly. These were just way too big, didn't really comprehend it. This one I made too low on the stock. It was too tight for the front wheel and I ended up grinding it out. And once I got it mounted on there, it was just too close. So the new modified one did away with all of that. So all in all, a bit of a wasted plastic and time and effort and everything else. And of course there's the old blanking plug, which of course I don't need. But these front wheels and that one I'm not going to throw away, because they might come in handy for another project. The rest is just going to have to be discarded. If you can find some tube like this, you're well away, because you can easily make this boom 3D printed. Now I've sorted the design work out, there's not a lot to it. There's just these two bits, and let me run it up here, the clamp, and of course your tube wouldn't have the T on the end, so you'd probably want to print one of these off just to blank it off. I'll put that in the file. Both the end fixings are metric M6. You probably could tap them out to 1/4 if you wanted to, but you just got to be aware of that. I will make a note of it anyway in the comments. So this bit's the blanking plug that goes on the end, just to blank it off really, and also give me a possible area to hang some sort of counterbalance strap. I've designed it to have a recess for a 10mm nut, but to be honest, the thread that's in here is pretty good, and there's the split collet, if you like, that fits up in there nicely. So by the time that's all pinched up, that should hold in there nicely. And I'm going to put a nut on there, and then I said leave a protrusion of thread to hang something on if need be. So here's the finished boom. So it's quite straightforward. I've got 53 inches, which is 1.30 m in extension, and that's a safety. I can go more than that. You can go as far as you like, and of course you can go even further when you point upwards into the air, because there's less stress on the tripod. So it's up to you how far you go. Depends how good your tripod is. So I'm going to leave you here with the settings that I've used for Cura for the print. Take notes if you want to. I'm not going to guarantee they're going to work on your printer, but I'll leave them to run anyway. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'm planning a second video making the parts out of metal. So bye bye for now.